All right, so welcome back, everybody. And as I said, we're going to now discuss the functional structure. And this is the typical foundational structure of any organization that is just starting. So whether you're just a startup that's just starting, or of course, an organization that has just, newly registered, you always start as a functional structure. Now, when we talk about functional structure, a functional organization is best suited as a producer of standardized goods, services at large volumes and low cost. And any functional structure basically is just you have the person that's in charge, of course, or you have the headquarters, then you have the various departments. And as I said, even if you're a startup, I know as a startup you're thinking like, or somebody that's just starting a business, you think, but it's just me. So what do you mean by structure? So for any organization, whether it's physical or you're talking about visualizing it, at the end of the day, you're always based on a structure system, which helps you to departmentalize what you need to do towards achieving your goals and objectives. So I like using my cousin's yogurt, Afman yogurts. My cousin has a yogurt business, a startup, and it's going very well, but she does it at home basically. So I wouldn't say she has a structure system, or she has a physical structure, should I say. But what I would say is that her business needs to market her yogurt. It needs to run finances in terms of the financial resources and what goes in, what comes out. It also, and then of course it needs production in terms of producing the yogurt itself. Now, even though that is not physical in itself, because you don't have a department in terms of that, but those are the functionalities of that particular startup, and understanding that helps her to know how to organize herself, and then how to go about, especially in the near future, towards getting that somebody that then specializes within that finance, and provide them, and then knowing the tasks that they need to handle in line with that, getting somebody that is also towards producing the yogurt in itself, and then has the ability and skills to do that in a larger scale. Then of course you'd have the marketing. So of course, even though she's doing well with her business, how is she able to expand her business or market her products? And of course, knowing that she knows she needs that function of marketing, or somebody that will help her in marketing that. So again, yes, it's important that you have a physical structure in terms of these functional structure that we're talking about. But understanding, even as a business that's just starting, whether it's in your head or physically, that functionality or departmentalization becomes essential. So one of the major aspects of functional structures, of course, is easy coordination of the activities, because it's in a small scale. It's easily coordinated and what needs to be done in terms of the activities or tasks at hand. And of course, because it's starting at a small scale, what becomes easy is of course trying to be able to harmonize the activities towards achieving the common goals of an organization. So again, another aspect of functional structures is, of course, what that means is that an individual or the company is focused on one activity, one specialization, one goods or services. And understanding that is very essential. Why I'm emphasizing that is that we know most organizations, whether big or small or even startups, you tend to see how easily we diversify into various products or various what we call segments of the market. And what that does, or should I say the disadvantage of that, is the scalability, trying to scale towards in the increasing capacity that you're looking at through diversification. But one of the major advantages of a functional structure is that it's focused on one product, on particular one segment or market. And what that does is that it means that all your resources goes into that particular specialization or product that you're focused on, or segment that you're focused on in terms of target market. And once you're able to do that, what that does is that it helps you to get better in terms of, again, specialization, in terms of the resources that you have, making sure that, you're able to then focus it on that particular products or services. Now, some of the disadvantages of that is that with the functional structure is that what it means that you're putting your eggs in one basket. because at the end of the day, what you're focused on is either it fails or it succeeds. So putting your eggs in one basket, what that means is that at the end of the day, you're only focused on that particular products and services, and you're taking the risk of it failing. And that's why most organizations tend to diversify. That's what brings them into diversification, knowing that they can't put their eggs in one basket. Again, I'm going to use Dangote as an example. We know Dangote, started off, with the cement, but then it grew into sugar, it grew into spaghetti and oil right now, specifically. And with that, we can see how it's diversified into various products, various areas of specialization. But then it has its disadvantage, which we're going to go into when we look at, product structure or geographic structure. But still focus on the functional structure. Again, it's essential that individuals or those just starting off know that they need to start off with a functional structure. Then through that, they're able to then grow into other structure systems in line with how their businesses are expanding at the end of the day. So with that, talking about the strengths and weaknesses of these functional structure, we can say that it allows economies of scales within a functional department, because recall that as an organization is expanding and focus on a particular product or services, it's able to then put all its resources within that products and services in terms of the specialization and the resources that's incorporated. So it's able to then help towards the economy of scale in terms of growing and expansion. And that's the beauty with functional structure systems. Also, it enables in-depth knowledge and skill development, because remember when we talked about division of work and having the different departmentalization. So with a typical functional structure, of course, it's able to help towards an individual being able to specialize within the area or get better within the area or functionality in which they find themselves. Of course, we know typically with most organizations today, when being employed, and individuals being employed, they come in with a particular specialization which they're looking for, and then with that, but it doesn't stop there. As you're incorporated into the organization or system, there's training and development, and it's expected that you get better in terms of your capabilities or specialization within that area. And that's what a functional structure is able to incorporate. And that's why you see most organizations can't do without a typical functional structure. Then you have it enables organizations to accomplish the functional goals, because every function is departmentalized, and there's a function, what we call functional objectives or goals of objectives of the organization, meaning each function knows what they need to do towards achieving the overall goals and objectives of the organization. And again, the functional structure system is able to clearly define that. And then finally, it is best with only one or few products, because at the end of the day, it's only about one or two products. Again, as I emphasize, usually you start off with one product and you're focused on that, or one segment, meaning a target market that you're focused on. And then once you're able to identify that, you're able to focus on that. Again, it's about putting all your resources into one thing and not spreading it across different aspects. Again, I can give you a very good example of some of the weaknesses of that with Dangote. Dangote company, again, as I said, it has various product lines. But at the end of the day, recently we heard that he wants to close down the sugar company that he started. Again, what has from that, and this is my own observation, is that very likely he has seen that he is not getting enough return on investment with that. But then it goes back to spreading your resources across the board because of diversification, and then not focusing it on what you're actually very good at or where your market base is. And I'm sure he has realized that he doesn't have a large market enough compared to other industries or other products that he sells. So realizing that all the resources he's putting into, again, this is my own assumption, all the resources that he's putting into the sugar company, it could go into investing the oil company that he has started, or the cement, or expanding on the cement company that he has. So at the end of the day, the functional structure in terms of that, of course, is able to focus on just one particular product, and make sure that all the resources are able to be incorporated into those products, or the few products that exist within that organization or business. With the weaknesses, when we focus on the weaknesses of a functional structure, we can say that it's slow response to time to environmental changes is also another problem, because a typical functional structure, though it has a lot to do with lack or limited resources, but at the end of the day, it becomes slow to responding to changes within the environment. I wouldn't say that is an excuse nowadays, especially with the information age that we find ourselves, whereby you easily are given access to information, of course, through the internet. And of course, we have the chat GTP, we have the AI that all plays a major role in providing necessary information towards making informative decisions. So yes, of course, we typically see that functional structures are slow to responses, but we can say nowadays, with the evolution of technology, we can say that has drastically reduced. Another weakness is that it may cause decisions to pile up on top of hierarchy overload. One of the main issues with any typical functional structure is that it's centralized in nature, and you can't run away from that. It's centralized because you have one person that's usually the owner and the manager, and he's in charge. And at the end of the day, whatever needs to be done has to be taken to that individual to make the final decision. So usually you tend to see a slowness when it comes to the decision making in typical functional structures. Of course, it is not as slow when it's just starting off, whereby you have maybe the workers, and then you have the head of the organization, like a startup. But as the organization grows and expands, and it still stays as a functional structure, what happens in instances like that is that before final decisions are made, it could take hours or it could take days, which slows up, the response rate that an individual or one is looking for. So one of the things that you tend to see most organizations are guilty of is basically what we call the horizontal coordination, or weakness in horizontal coordination, whereby you don't see that harmonizations from different functional departments, whereby they come together to understand what is going on and then know how to harmonize their activities towards the common goal. What you typically see is that each function or each department is basically running as an island on their own. And yes, there are meetings. That's the whole point of the typical maybe departmental meetings, or what we call management meetings, that they come together and then go through what has taken place within each function or department. But at the end of the day, how is there consistency in the activities that take place? How is there communication across the board from these, various departments? So at the end of the day, it brings about that harmonization. And that's one of the major problems with most functional structures that tends to not be evident in terms of that. Another one is results in less innovation. You tend to see a functional structure, they're usually comfortable how they are. So most organizations, and it goes back to change, resistance to change. Most organizations don't want change, or are fearful of diversifying or going into another industry or another product. And because of that, what then happens is that at the end of the day, they're resistant to any changes that could bring about failure or risk to them. So with that, of course, when we talk about innovation, what we're saying here is, or less innovation, we're just trying to emphasize that most functional structures tend to resist technology or any change or innovation that tends to come into play, knowing that will change the dynamics of how things are done. And usually once they know they're getting the profits they need, or they have the target market that or market share that they need to acquire, then they're comfortable to stay where they are. Then another major issue, of course, or weakness, is it involves restricted view of organizational goals, because again, a functional structure is just about profit making. It's comfortable where it doesn't want to make changes. So with that, usually is restricted on what the organizational goals are, which is just to make profit, and doesn't want to budge or move from that. So you tend to see some of these issues with functional structures. I can imagine some of you now, you have a startup, you have a business, you just started an organization, but you're scared. Once you feel you're making enough in terms of profits, or revenues are being generated, or sales are coming in, then you're saying, why change anything if I am comfortable, or if I'm comfortable where I am? Salaries are being paid. I have employees, they're working, so why would I take that risk? But at the end of the day, if for any organization or any startup or business that wants to grow or continue to exist, you have to always remember we're in the technology age, whereby things are always changing, and if you don't catch up, if you don't try and meet up to what is going on, at the end of the day, you'll be left behind and may even risk to fail at the end of the day. So it's important that you're able to push yourself out of your comfort zone. That's what I'll just say, out of your comfort zone, towards trying to know that for sustainability, you have to accept innovation. You have to be able to understand that at the end of the day, whatever comes in is, you look at it as a positive, meaning something that can be an advantage to you, and then you use it to your advantage to then be able to scale your business at the end of the day, and that becomes essential. So with that, we're going to look at the next structure system, which is divisional structure. All right, see you.